Good afternoon, everybody. My talk, as Andy has said, is about what's happening in Wales. My reason for being here is that I chaired the group that recommended to Welsh Government the policies that it should adopt to support and facilitate national residential decarbonisation. And I'm happy to say those are policies which it has accepted. Andy has already mentioned the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act. It's a very profound piece of legislation, and it does require every public body in Wales, including Welsh Government itself, to take explicit account of the well-being of future generations. That makes it very easy for us to make recommendations about residential decarbonisation. Welsh Government does understand that the benefits of residential decarbonisation, we always talk about the costs, we rarely talk about the benefits. Welsh Government understands that these will be widespread and profound. Study after study has shown the excellent economic multiplier effects, and any Treasury seed money that Wales might request will be paid back through increased taxes as private homeowners get stuck in. But that does require Treasury to take a long view. A group drawn from across Welsh society spent 15 months developing its recommendations, and this is it. These are underpinned by two things: an analysis of the entire Welsh housing stock by the Welsh School of Architecture and by the insights of a team from the UCL Centre for Behaviour Change. Welsh Government accepted every recommendation, and we're now in prepare for delivery mode. The challenges we face is the legacy of policy flip-flops by successive UK governments. So our very first recommendation was that the political parties in Wales should make a commitment to national residential decarbonisation and stick to it. Right now, this does have cross-party support, and we're working hard to maintain it. This is the current distribution of Welsh EPCs. Our main recommendation then for the whole housing stock in Wales is that every home in Wales, every home, be upgraded to EPC A by 2050 with the minimum number of derogations. And to catalyse that, to kickstart it, to get it going, we recommended that Welsh Government begins a 10-year programme to bring every socially owned home and every privately owned home in fuel poverty up to EPC A by 2030. That means upgrading on average 30,000 homes per year for a decade. This will not be cheap, and we look to Welsh Government to ensure that the necessary funding becomes available, and it has committed to doing that. Looking after the poorest and most vulnerable in society is not simply the right thing to do. We also believe it will benefit everyone, because upgrading 300,000 homes by 2030 will give firms in the industry the confidence and the opportunity to invest, to train, to take on apprentices and new staff, to innovate and to drive down costs. It will also provide valuable data that will aid continuous improvement. The goal is that by the mid-2020s, the retrofit offer will be attractive to private homeowners, provided that action is taken to ensure that these people have the capability, opportunity, and motivation to decarbonise their homes. We need decarbonising a home to be as easy, as desirable, and as socially normal as having a new kitchen or bathroom. We made a series of other recommendations about the actions that Welsh Government and others should take to help create an environment in which it is socially normal for homeowners to choose to upgrade their homes and find it easy to do so well. Trust is an important one. When Welsh Government launches a 30-year programme in 2021, funders, owner-occupiers, social landlords, private landlords and industry must trust that it is and will continue to be supported by the main political party. Keeping it local is important. Advice, funding, design and delivery should all be local. The bulk of the work should be carried out by small and medium-sized firms that are based in local communities and trusted by the people they serve. Quality is important, and we've heard from Peter about this. The assessment must be good, the design must be good, the installation must be good. We recommended the collaborative creation of a Welsh quality regime based on PAS 2035 that works for everyone involved. Continuing to learn is important. We recommended that Welsh Government creates a fund so that all promising ideas, both technical and particularly non-technical, are researched, piloted at small scale, and then field trialed at large scale. We want to be as sure as possible that ideas will work before they are rolled out across the nation. The involvement of communities is important. We recommended that maximum use is made of the many trade, professional, voluntary, community, and third sector organisations in Wales. Asset-based community development has an important part to play in decarbonisation. So what are we doing to make this happen? Residential decarbonisation at scale in Wales is starting, as I said, with socially owned homes. The Welsh School of Architecture has just published its third phase of work, which is a detailed analysis of 10 typical socially owned homes, and the work was carried out with the RSLs who own them. The analysis compares what business as usual repair, maintenance and improvement would look like up to 2030 with what will be needed to achieve a well decarbonised EPC-A. This is just one of the homes studied, an off-gas grid, semi-detached house built between 1945 and 1960, a fairly typical Welsh social home. The difference in cost between the two approaches is the additional money that must be found to enable the RSLs to undertake the work. This graph illustrates the case study in the previous slide. Percentage decarbonisation up the vertical axis, SAP across the horizontal axis. The journey begins in 1990 at SAP 46 on the x-axis. By 2020, that's now on the graph, improvements to the home and the decarbonisation of the grid have improved the SAP rating a little and have started to decarbonise the home. The road then forks. Business as usual is the lower line. It almost achieves EPC-A, but the decarbonisation is insufficient. The upper line shows where we want the home to get to. It also delivers the lowest energy bills by far. The other output of this work is a set of design decision-making tools to help RSLs make the right choices. The goal is now for the landlords to apply these to all their homes by the end of the year to give a more granular and accurate picture of costs and opportunities for bulk purchasing and to inform planning of the work on the homes. Now, the words for this slide now follow. A parallel study sponsored by CHC, the umbrella body for Welsh social landlords, looked at the impact of the additional spending on social landlords' financial plans. The study showed that a decarbonisation programme over the next 10 years represents a major challenge to the financial plans of housing associations and local authorities. Substantial new money will be essential. Welsh Government is now working with the Green Finance Institute and others to develop a funding approach for social landlords that blends public funds with private sector investment to address the risks and achieve the scale of financing needed. Welsh Government has also just launched its optimised retrofit programme, ORP, for social landlords. It follows our recommendation that any new area is researched and piloted and field trialled before it is implemented at scale. ORP is not just about installing technical measures in homes. It's about embedding quality and best practice in the whole process, from surveying a home to designing what is to be done, creating its building renovation passport, funding, procurement, installation, data capture and storage, monitoring of outcomes, and the testing of the use of PAS 2035, just to find out how well it works in practice. Equally important, it's about opportunities, collaboration, local supply chains, jobs, training, and skills. It's also about the tenants and the well-being impacts that this will have on them. Social landlords are encouraged to work on privately owned homes as well as their own, and lessons learned will be shared. Now, there is much more happening, but I hope this has given you an insight into how we are creating a strong foundation for residential decarbonisation in Wales. And finally, I have two requests of this and future UK governments. The first one is, please provide the necessary seed money for social landlords. That's my one big thing for you to vote on. And two, please stop intervening. And if UK government can't stop itself from intervening, it should ask itself one question every time it is tempted to do so. Will this intervention make it more or less likely that private homeowners will choose to upgrade their homes and find it easy to do so well? Thank you. That's me.